Alright, hello, my name is Blue Infinity 22, and this is The Legend of Zelda, the Minish Cap any percent. A little bit about this run. It's pretty much entirely just non-stop movement and execution for the first hour of it, and then the second hour is where you'll see a lot of big glitches and exploits that we're going to use to skip a lot of the game and a lot of the dungeons and stuff that you would normally have to do. So you'll see a lot of very specific movements, from trying to get us in better positions to just well, I guess what you'll see once we really get started. I've been running this game for several months now. I'd say about 3 or 4 months. My PB is currently 159.19, I believe. So that means I have an under 2-hour time, which is really good. I think only about 12 people have gotten that before. So, alright, so the first thing that I guess we can talk about is tech smashing. The way tech smashing works in this game is you hold the B button to make text go faster, and then every other button on the controller basically makes the text boxes advance. So for example, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be holding B and spinning the control stick, and that way we're going as fast as possible with from the text speed to just how fast the text boxes will advance. So here we're going to grab ourselves a 20 rupee. This is very important because, funnily enough, the rupee route that we're going to be following, all the rupees that we need are going to be at the beginning of the game, beginning of the run, which is kind of silly, but that's just how it works out. So there is one alternative that we can do to the rupee route, which we'll get to later on when we come across it. But we're going to need, after the first dungeon, we're going to need like 60 rupees almost immediately. And so here's one of those things I was talking about with like precision, with how the movement works in the game. You'll see that we have very precise rolls when we do it, and where we position ourselves to make it to where we're in a more like favorable spot to continue. Like for example at the start, how I had Link move a little bit to the right, so that way when he rolled left, he was right in front of Zelda. Or we might opt not to roll as much so that we don't like completely overshoot Zelda. So you can see at the top left, or top right, sorry. You can see at the top right the text on top of the R button. You can kind of use that to gauge how well and accurate the rolling is. If you see the text for a pretty long time, then I'm either pressing it a little too early, so I have to try to fix that, or I'm pressing it a little too late. So if you can just barely see the text, or like maybe not even see it at all, then that means that the movement's going pretty well. And so there's another example on how like I'm trying to move Link to a better position. When he reaches the top, he's going to move in front of the, I forgot what his name actually is. I guess he's like a Chancellor. He'll move himself to the Chancellor, so I go ahead and move to the left on the way up a little bit, so that way I'm already in front of him, so that's not an issue. And so this is going to be one of, I believe like 3 big cutscenes that are in the game. So we just text smash through it. And so here, Vadi, he won a swordsmanship tournament, so he's basically unleashing evil on the world. Funnily enough, no enemies are actually on the overworld until this cutscene happens, I believe. So like even if you were to use like a device to like kind of go to the first dungeon ahead of time, there actually wouldn't be any monsters there. Which is kind of cool. So here's one of the first bit of randomness that can kind of influence how you move. This maid here, you can see that she can kind of get in your way and cause you to run into her. So there's a lot of little things like that that are throughout the route that you just have to try to pay attention and deal with as it comes along. Alright, so now we're on our way to the first dungeon. So here's just trying to maximize your rolls, making sure that they're timed well. You don't want to mash your rolls because you won't be able to get the most movement out of your rolls if you do that. You want to try to time them so that way you get them out exactly when you can. There's an example of an enemy getting in the way. Oh, shoot. Alright, so here I guess we can talk about a unique aspects of the rolling. There is actually, as you see there, invincibility frames at the beginning of a roll, and so we're going to try to abuse that as much as we can to make sure that we don't have to stop or like defeat any enemies that we don't really need to worry about doing that to. Whoops. Alright, so here Eslo activates, so now we go on back to go get him. And there's another example of where we try to move Link to where he'll like try to go himself to stand so that we can just have the scenes start faster. Alright. And so now we start heading towards the first dungeon for real now. So here's one of the unique traits with the game, how we're going to turn into the size of a Minish. We have to watch the cutscenes here once for each unique type of Minish portal, but after that we can just skip the scenes immediately without having to watch it again. You can actually make that first cycle for the lily pads, but I don't think it's ever actually been done RTA. It requires like I forgot how many it was, but it requires quite a number of frame perfect rolling in order to actually make that cycle. And so what I just did also on that area going in is another unique aspect where if Link actually pushes against a slanted wall, or I guess like a actual like corner itself, he'll actually just slide against it and just continue on anyway. So we'll also be abusing that for a bit of the movement that we do in this run. Alright, so here we're going to get a Jabbernut. What this does is it actually allows Link to understand what the Minish are saying. So we have to get that in order to, you know, talk to anyone and, like, get permission from, like, the Elder to actually enter the Deepwood Shrine. You can see there that I was not quite into the middle of the ladder, but because I was close enough to the edge of it, that Link just slid in, going back to what I had mentioned a little bit ago. Alright. It's actually a little faster just to jump off that instead of taking the ladder. So now we're in the first dungeon of the game, Deepwood Shrine. There's not a lot of like exploits or anything that we are going to do here, but this dungeon will showcase a lot of the like basic movement and techniques that we'll be using throughout the run itself. Like one example being, I guess we can showcase it better here, is that you'll see that we won't roll completely everywhere because we don't want to run into any areas that Eslo will start talking to us in, because if you do roll into where Eslo will start talking, he'll actually take longer to show up and start the scene. So we try to make sure that we walk into those instead of rolling in. Alright. That was pretty sloppy. That's one of the few actual damage boosts in the game that we'll actually be doing. There's like a total of like 3 or 4, I believe. That one being a more difficult one to do, because the movement pattern is random for the enemies. Alright. That was an unfortunate area for the that slug to go. See, there's an example of me having rolled into an Eslo text. So you can see that it took a little longer to start up than normal. So that's what we want to try to avoid. Alright. Oh, come on. The grab button and Link's roll are the same ones, so if you're holding a direction, like for example down, so that you can, you know, look towards the mushroom, if you press R a little too soon, he'll roll instead of grab. So here's a room that most shows off abusing the invincibility frames with a roll. That was actually an unfortunate pattern there, but you can see that I just was able to go through the first 2 slugs so that I didn't have to worry about taking damage from them. Here's just a typical Bulldozer fight. Yeah, I didn't like that. Alright, so here's the first mini-boss of the game. He's pretty simple. You hit his head, and then just attack the tail. Alright, you can actually defeat him in 2 cycles if you're quick, which we were able to, which saves a little bit of time. Alright, and so now we have the Gust Jar. The Gust Jar is probably one of the most used items in the game, at least in the run anyway, because we use it for, you know, taking care of cobwebs. We use it for lily pad movement, which we're about to see here in a second. Different enemies require it. 2 bosses actually in particular require it. I got a little too far there. So here with the lily pad sections, we're just using the Gust Jar to move. We usually count out the puffs, but as you can see, these enemies can sometimes get in the way if you're unlucky. So once you get rid of them, you can just count your puffs to make sure that you get as well as accurate of movement as possible. take him out right now. Alright. 2, 2. And so here, I don't know if that was enough. We try to bash into the ceiling a little bit so that, yeah, you can see, it's similar to what I mentioned earlier where Link, if he goes against a corner or a slanted wall, he'll just slide down. He'll slide against it. Similar with using the lily pads. If you're just a little bit on the corner, you're able to just go right up. It'll just push you right past it. Now, so here's what I mentioned about the rupee route earlier. If we were able to have found a 5 rupee in this dungeon, or I guess 5 green ones somehow, you're able to skip this chest, but because we didn't, just to make sure that we absolutely will have the rupees we need later on, we just grab this guaranteed 20 rupee chest right here now. And so now, we're done with the dungeon, and we just head to the boss of it. On this pool, we don't have to worry about being too close, but on this bottom one, you want to make sure you're not stepping on the puddle, otherwise you won't make it far enough and you'll fall in the water. Alright. Health isn't really too big of a concern here because all 4 of those pots do have health and there are opportunities where you won't lose any time grabbing them. Which I guess I'll do one just to be safe. But, so this boss is actually one of the more unique ones in the run because his health works differently than, well, I don't know if it works differently than others, but basically he stops taking damage after taking, I believe, 4 hits, and then it's random between 5 to, I think, 9. How many additional hits you need to do before he stands up. So that was a pretty good one. I only had to do like 2 extra hits. And where he first starts leaning is where he'll actually fall down. So to save yourself a little time from him having to bob back and forth. Like, see, that took a lot more hits than the first cycle, which was unfortunate. And then he has a random chance of, you know, giving you 5 hops here, which is also unfortunate, but what can you do? Okay, so that was overall actually a pretty good fight. Got a short cycle on the first one, pretty decent long one on the second one, and then, you know, third one he went down easily. So then I moved to the middle of the room just so that I save Link moving again, because the earth element, which is what we're holding right now, won't actually come down until you're in the middle, so moving Link there just saves you a little bit of time. So now we grab the heart container, because the area coming up is very easy to take a lot of damage, so you want to make sure that you do have that container. Just, if nothing else, just so that you save yourself some headache. Alright, so now we let the Elder know that we got... Whoop, now we let the Elder know that we got it. He takes his time opening the curtain. Alright, and so now we're going to get the one of the more useful items in the game, the bomb bag. The way the bombs work in this game is that they have 3 different, like, fuses, I believe. Like, I guess we can just say. They have 3 different fuses. I guess fuse lengths or sizes. The first one, you know, is just, you know, placing the bomb down, whatever. It just blows up when it wants to. The second one is if you pick up the bomb and throw it immediately, it'll actually blow up a little quicker, I think like half a second or so faster. And then there's one that you can do called roll lifting. It's where you actually place a bomb down and lift it up 1 frame later, and you'll actually see it bounce a little bit. And when it does that, it'll actually blow up a full second faster. So we're going to be trying to do roll lifts anywhere that we can to save a bit of time. So here's the hurdy-gurdy man. What it wants you to do is, you know, fuse with him to teach you the ways of the kinstone, but instead we're going to save and quit so that we can skip doing that. It is a little faster than actually having to fuse with him, watch all the animations, and, you know, talk to him again, and then wait for him to move out of the way. So we just go ahead and save and quit to skip that. Okay, so here we're going to learn the spin attack. Whoop, and I just said no. There we go. So we need the spin attack for two main reasons. One is so that we can actually leave the city, or this town, because we actually can't until we show it off. The second reason being you can't actually do an ability that we have to do later if we don't have the spin attack, because you can't actually hold your sword out. I knew the postman would get in the way. Yeah, so now we go to show off... Oh, jeez, that's the third time I did that this run. So now we go show off the spin attack to this guardsman, and he's just so impressed that he lets us by, which is good for us. And then we use that whole sliding thing. Alright, so here's the first of the rupees that we needed. We needed 20 rupees there so that we can get this empty bottle, so that we can continue. And then we'll need 40 rupees inside of this next area. But we need them halfway through, so we're not able to actually, you know, grab rupees that are inside of the dungeons or anything. So that's why we grab those 20 rupees inside the dungeon at the time, so just so that we're guaranteed to have it. Ouch. Alright, so here's the second of the unique Minish portals where we'll have to watch the scene. As I said before, once you watch this scene for a Minish portal type once, you won't have to watch it anymore after that. Alright, and so here's where we're gonna... So the whole reason why we're here is just so that we can grab this mineral water, which will be required for us to grow a seed later on, so that we can actually continue. Be absolutely careful that you do not pour this out, otherwise you will have to come all the way back to get more. So there's a few ways that you can try to avoid that, whether it just be unequipping it altogether, or putting it on a different button just so that you know that you're not going to do it. Ooh, I love that I didn't drop my bomb. Alright. It's like here, for example, there we go. Like, you'll see here, for example, that I make sure that I go out of my way to make sure that the mineral water is on A, because as I mentioned in the start, we tech smash by holding the B button, so that way I'm a little bit more careful about not pouring it out. And there you have just enough length to roll downwards so that you don't roll into the Ezlotex. But you have to make sure you do that roll as soon as you come out of the door, otherwise you'll go too far. Alright. And here we don't have to watch the Minish portal cutscene again, we can just go right along. So here's that area I mentioned where we need to grab the seed here. Oh, wow, I got hit there. This is the seed that we need to use the mineral water on. I don't know if I want to actually keep going this side since I know they're here, but I guess we'll just go for it. If they get in the way, I can just throw the seed. Alright, so they moved. You can actually use the seed there and just throw it at... Oh, excuse me, sir. There we go. You can use the seed to throw it at the enemies if they are in your way. Alright, so we made it just fine without pouring out the water, which is good. So here's another little cool, I guess, exploit. The Gust Jar doesn't actually pay attention to layers. Like, you know, for example, like if a target is higher up on a higher plane, see? We can just use the Gust Jar and just go ahead and grab the mushroom without having to bust open that wall back there and go through a cavern. It's a nice little time saver. Alright, and we can avoid that gust altogether there. And so here's the second part where we needed rupees. We need 40 rupees here so that we can get the grip rings. This will allow us to climb the mountain. There we go. So my health is a little under 2 hearts, so I'm going to do a bit of a safety strategy where there's actually a fairy fountain cave right here. You can go inside of it to refill your health. It's not too much of a time loss, but and it ensures that you will have full health going up this mountain. The reason why that's so important is because these boulders here, they're entirely random, and they deal an entire half heart of damage. So I was at a heart and a half basically, and so if I got hit by 3 of these rocks, it would have been game over. Or even if I get hit by 2, and then, you know, something happens, like a bulldozer hits me, then it'd be done. Like, see, I already took a half heart of damage there, entirely out of my control. So it's just something that you want to grab. This is really bad positions for them, unfortunately. So right there, I've already taken a 3/4 heart of damage. So that's largely why someone might grab that fairy there to be safe, so that it avoids a game over potentially, at the risk of like 5 seconds or so. Alright, so now this part of the mountain is just going to be just block puzzles. So it's just making sure that your movement is on point and making sure that you're careful not to go too far and have to reset the room. Alright. And here we're going to do that rolling against a curved edge that I mentioned. Here you'll actually overshoot it if you roll. So I just walk a little bit diagonally. This. So there's actually an enemy up there at the top, so I actually do a little bit of back and forth motion so that I don't absorb it into the gust jar and clog it. Link? There we go. Worried me a little bit there, friend. And this is the last boulder puzzle of the mountain. Use the invincibility frames of the roll to get through without getting hit. Alright, so now we're heading to the second dungeon of the game. Little thing, just talk to the guy from the top. If you talk to him from the front, Link will actually move himself, so it just wastes a little bit of time. Alright. So there's actually 2 guaranteed hearts here. I'm just going to pick them up just for safety. There's a few different strategies you can do here. One of them, you can use the enemies there to blow up the wall, or you can use a bomb yourself. Using a bomb yourself is a little more reliable and safer than to use them, but using them is actually a little faster. So it's entirely up to the runner. Largely because their fuses are smaller than your own bomb. Walk into the Eslo text, don't roll. You can move for 1 frame after you get there before Eslo starts talking. We defeat that guy so that he's not a problem later on, because we do have to come back through here and he can cause problems. And then here's a bit of a... Okay, cool, I got it. Not bad. The ideal way of doing that room is getting, you know, those 3 enemies all at once at the bottom, and then just taking out the 4th one, and it worked out pretty well. So here's another one of those where you just have to react to how the enemy treats you. You can end up having pretty bad patterns there, and you could just get ping-ponged and like squished against the wall against those spinies. So you just want to make sure that you react to how they treat you. And I guess a side thing to mention is that with Minish movement, it is faster to walk diagonally than it is to roll one direction and then another one. So you'll often see me do a bit of a combination between the two. It's the opposite when you're full-size Link. Alright, so here's a bit of a random room. Not too good of a pattern here. Having to actually go a little bit out of my way to grab that. But the second one was pretty good. Those are the last rupees that we'll grab in the game. We need 60 rupees later on, a little bit after this dungeon, for a side quest. Uh-oh. Okay, cool, still got it. And so we grabbed the 20 rupee pot during the mountain climb, and then we grabbed the 50 rupee chest there. So that way we have the 60 rupees that we need. So I guess it's not the only, this key is not the only reason we go this way. So that we can get those, well, no, it is, because you can get rupees in another room later on. So I guess ignore what I just said there. Alright, so here we come to the mini-boss of this one, which actually has a pretty cool strategy with it. So we'll see how that turns out. There is a guaranteed heart down there in that bottom right pot, if needed. Alright, so here the strategy is use a spin attack, take out the 3 on that side, then charge up your spin attack, and get these. But I slightly messed it up, but it wasn't too bad. It's a pretty precise strategy, but it's really cool when you can get it. And it is pretty easy to recover if you do mess it up. Okay, roll up against the wall here so you can get those, so you can hit the minecart. Be careful not to go back into the minecart, so make sure you stay a little bit to the left when pushing this up. Because you can actually get back into the minecart even when you're pushing that block. So make sure you're aware of that. So one unique aspect to the roll that I didn't mention earlier is that as long as you're not pressing the direction that you're rolling in, you won't actually activate anything that you run into. What I mean by that is, you saw how I rolled into the minecart there, but he didn't enter it because I let go of the direction that he's rolling in. So he'll just stop against 1 pixel away from it. So it's useful in quite a number of situations, like if you're trying to line yourself up against a door, for example, you can just roll into it while not holding the directional input. And here's another one of the damage boosts, one of the few that you do in this game. Alright, so here's another little bit of a randomness room. See how well we can do it. Whoops! Oh, I already messed up a little bit, but we'll just keep it going. Nice. Please! Alright, so that was a little sloppy, but we got through it. It's not as bad as it could have been. I just missed every throw that I decided to do. Pushing is faster than pulling. I guess I could mention that. So that's why we'll pull it out, then switch to pushing as soon as we can. Alright, so those pots right there also have guaranteed hearts. And there's a 5 rupee there. I'm gonna try to avoid that so I don't get the text. So you can skip a platform cycle here. We're gonna try to pull it off. It's pretty easy. You just stay at the top and then go up, like so. And then just follow the path. Alright, so this room that's coming up, it's actually kind of cool. There's a lot of, like, things you can do to just, you know, skip a lot of this stuff that you would normally do in a regular run. Like, for example, you can skip having to fly back up. You can just make it to that whirlwind. You can skip a few of the whirlwinds over here. But there's a lot of room for error. Like, you can still do it and go just as fast as someone who might skip it, because you have to wait for a platform cycle coming up. But you don't want to take too much time, because then, you know, you'll get an extra one, which is bad. But because you have a little bit of extra time, you can activate the portal up here for a little bit of safety if something does go south. Which does happen on occasion. So it's good for, like, races or maybe even marathons. But, alright, so we're at the second boss of the game. The Glee Rock. The start of Glee Rock has a few different strategies you can do, depending on how, like, risky or safe you want to do it. We're going to go for the fastest one first. Hope we don't mess it up. Get it. There's a quick cycle there. Alright. Alternative strats you can do is you can wait for him to shoot one fireball, so that way his head's out of the way. And then another one is you can just wait until he shoots both times, so that he has to wait a little bit, to make it a little bit easier for you to time your aim. And then he takes 8 hits. If you do somehow miss those 8 hits, you can tell immediately, because that lava won't actually raise. Then just use the sword, wait for him to shoot, and then you have a nice clean shot. 8 hits again. And then the risk of death here is really low, because you have a pretty good chance of getting hearts here. I mean, I only got 1, but still, the fact that you got 1, that's getting hit 4 times by these rocks, which I got hit twice by a single one, I'm guessing, so that was kind of cool. Oh, interesting. I got the short one. Cool. And then 5 hits for the last one. That was kind of interesting. That was actually a really good fight. Alright, so we grab the heart container here, because you can take just as much damage in the next area coming up than you can going up Mount Krennel. It is kind of funny that some of the most damaging areas are in the beginning, or I guess the middle. So now we need to come get the sword that we left here. It's very important that you do that, because if you do somehow forget it, you do have to climb all the way back up to come get it again. So, make absolutely sure that we grab it. And so now we do the climb back down, which is a lot faster than the climb back up. And using the cane of Pachi that we just got, it's a lot faster, well not a lot faster, but it's faster to use that than it is to pick up a rock yourself. Alright, so now we need to grab some water here, because we're going to be using it later on in the run. We're not going to use it immediately, or even anytime soon, really, but we do need it for the future. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There you can count out 10 rolls, and it works out exactly that you need to reach that point. Which goes back to my point on how precise and tight movement is, and how you're just constantly moving, constantly trying to make sure that you're in a good spot. There, you don't want to roll into the Eslotex. Also, again, just like Mount Krennel, be careful not to pour out your water. Otherwise you do have to get more, which there are a few ways you can get more water coming up, but you know, it's still wasting time having to re-pick up water, going through the text box again and the animations. So here's where we're going to get a unique ability for this game, where we're going to fuse these elements that we got at the end of the dungeons into our sword, so that we can split ourselves into two. We'll be able to use that to do a few puzzles that we have to do, or use the combined weight of multiple links to push objects, make objects fall down, activate switches, things like that. And so with that comes a few little minor tweaks to movement, so that we can make sure that we maximize our time. Like for example, coming up, once we do this one. How we'll stop ourselves short here and just start charging ahead of time, so that way by the time we get down to the platforms that we're not waiting forever. So just little things like that. Which is basically a lot of what the first half of the run is just little things that you do so that you don't waste as little time as possible. From not over-rolling, to timing your rolls, to making sure that you're in a good spot to go through enemies using the invincibility frames, or just to do a little bit of movement, stop yourself before running into Eslo-texts, little things like that. And so here is a forced encounter that we have a few different things that we can do for. I'm going to go for the safest and most consistent strategy, but I guess I'll explain in a second. Which is, just going down and spamming attack upwards. An alternative you can do is go straight to the top, and then once you move down a little bit, you can pin the enemies against the wall up there. So that way there's less knockback from them, and you can get more hits in faster. It saves about half a second, a little over that, but it is a little less consistent and a little bit more tight timing. And so here's the second of the long cutscenes that I mentioned at the beginning of the game, where we learn the history of Eslo and Vadi. So we just continue our tech smashing as I mentioned earlier, holding B and spinning the control stick. Alright, and so now we're on our way. Alright, using the corner again to push ourselves down a little bit. Start charging up a little bit ahead of time. Another thing you can think about is where Link, the real Link, will be when he fuses. We have Link at the top there just so that he's closer to the ladder. And now here's the third of the longest cutscenes. After this, I don't believe there's any more long cutscenes. I mean, I guess there's one at the very end, but it's not long. At least you don't have to mash through. I guess of the long cutscenes you have to mash through. Alright, and so here's one of the quirks with Minish Cap, the way that event flags work. So in order to activate a certain cutscene, we have to read this sign here. Reading that sign activates the Pegasus Boots side quest. You can activate it by going into the Castor Wilds, which is where we will be going in a little bit. But it's faster, you know, just to read the sign so that you can activate this and you can be on your way. And so this is the third of the Minish portals that you have to watch. So after this, we no longer have to wait through anything related to Minish portals. Alright. That area works out to where you just need to roll up once, roll twice to the left, and you're on your way. Which is a nice thing about this game, is that most of the areas work out in just rolls, so that everything works out, which is nice. Please, there we go. Got caught there. Alright, so I got a roll lift. You can see that he, oh my gosh, I did that. I guess so I could show you a second time. You see that's a roll lift. There we go. You can see that the bomb had actually bounced a little bit, so that way and then it detonated a lot faster than the other bombs that I placed earlier. Alright, so now we got these guys' key, so we can just give it to them. This area works out pretty nicely with rolls, which is really nice. A little unlucky with the enemy placement though. And so now this is where we use the last of the rupees that we needed, is to buy this mushroom, which is the 60 rupees that I mentioned. So now we no longer need any more rupees through the rest of the run. We have done everything that we need to with them. Should have grabbed that heart, to be honest. So now we need to push this block in. It's not just for us to go back, we actually need that there so we can come back to that hut easier later, so we don't have to go through the Lon Lon Ranch again. We can just go right through there. And so I guess I'll mention it when we do it. So now that we got the mushroom, we just come in, walk into the Ezlo text, and then give it to him. Alright, so now we got the Pegasus boots, one of the most important items in the game. It lets us, whoops, it lets us move fast, which is, you know, the most important thing about speedruns, is going fast. There's a few more unique aspects about it, like for example, there is no recoil when you get hit, as you can see there. I just ran right through the enemy. But similarly, you can really stack on the damage. Which I'm getting really unlucky with enemy placements. That's actually god tier bad luck. Oh jeez. So here's the first Darknut fight of the game. You want him to charge at you, but there's a chance that he can slash instead, but luckily we got the charge. So you can see with the charge, we could just get right behind him, easy peasy, and just take him out. Dude, this enemy placement's just disgusting. Alright, so here's something that I didn't quite mention about the lily pads earlier. If the lily pads are going at full speed in one direction, if you go into another cardinal direction, it'll actually speed up a little bit. Alright, so here I took damage purposely there, because I'm going to death warp. Alright, so we're not saving and continuing. So with that, we're now at 3 hearts and back at the entrance where we want to be. Because regardless, whether I death warped or not, we would still need to save and quit so that we can get back to the entrance and just head on over here. So that just lets me get 3 hearts on top of getting back to the entrance. And I believe death warping is a little faster than saving and quitting. Depending on how quickly you do it, of course. Alright, so now we got the second of the 3 gold kinstone pieces that we need to continue. So we use the invincibility frames from the roll to make sure we don't take damage and just go right through the Igor statues. Alright, so I had a favorable rope there, unlike the rest of the ropes locations. There we go. Alright, now we're at the 3rd and last one, so now we can head over to Castor Ruins. Rope in a bit less favorable position there. So, earlier I mentioned inside of the Cave of Flames how there's like one frame that that you can move before Eslo talks. Similar case here, where you can move a little bit before they start moving again. And you can see here, move a little bit to the left. Don't want to roll on that one, because then you'll overshoot it. And then again here. Whoops, moved a little too early there. There we go. That's the better one. Alright, so this room here is actually unique. Normally, when you go Minish, the room that you're in will reset to what it was at the start. This room is a special exception where it doesn't do that. So we're able to cut down the grass and take out that one rope. That way, one, we can get through faster, and two, we don't have to worry about taking damage from those ropes. Surprised I got through that with only one hit. It's kind of nice. Pretty speedy. Alright, so now we're in Fortress of Winds. This dungeon is going to be the first where we start abusing glitches. There's actually a pretty big one that's in here. So we're going to try to pull that off just fine, and I'll explain it when we get to it. Whoa, what? That's kind of cool. Nice one, me. You want to use the skull to hit that Armo statue. It does more damage than your sword, so you can do 2 less hits. Also, similarly, you see that I was able to skip doing one of them because you can actually reach the switch without needing to fuse 2 apart, which is a little time saver. Alright, so this is going to be the only small key that we grab in this dungeon. We're going to use a small key to go straight to the Molnit, which we're going to use to do that glitch that I mentioned. These skulls are guaranteed to have hearts, so we're just going to go ahead and grab them for safety for when we do. The glitch that we're going to do will require you to take quite a bit of damage, so we're just going to grab those hearts just in case. And it also lets us mess up against like a Dark Nut, and also we have to damage boost coming up as well. So it's just good to grab them there. The Pegasus boots have a unique aspect where you can actually animation cancel the end of your arrow shot, which is kind of nice. Alright, so we got the slash that time. Waste a little bit of time, but it's not the end of the world. And then here we damage boost. Grab the bombs here. Boop. Got the roll lift. Uh-oh. Okay, still made it. Very nice. And now we got the digging mitts. Equip them, save, and quit to take us back to the entrance of the dungeon. You can just hold diagonal down and you won't fall off, which is nice. Use the mitts to cut through the middle. And then it's absolutely important that we grab this kinstone. Very important. We need it for a fusion that we're going to do later that'll allow us to skip a major part of the game. Or a major chunk of the game. Alright, so now we're heading to this Minish portal over here so that we can do something called portal items. The way portal items works is that it allows us to use an item while getting onto a Minish portal, and it'll still get... Oh, well, that's what I get for talking. So this is when you get on the portal too early. You get a slow animation that wastes about 20 seconds. So basically, as you can see, this is a good example on using the item on the portal. There we go. It'll use it, push us back, because that's something that the digging mitts does uniquely. And use the bomb to blast us on top of the wall there. Very nice. Alright, so that lets us skip getting the boss key and lets us go straight to the boss. Alright, so what I did there is that you can't actually hit this boss until he slams 3 times. So what I did is I activated the left hand with the arrow, and then I went ahead and went straight underneath the other one so that he would immediately start slamming down. Like, I took a bit of damage, so it looked a little sloppy, but it still made him reactivate faster to let me just go ahead and shoot him. So see, we go under him, let him hit, and then we're able to shoot. Very nice. So, one thing that, those pillars that we have to attack inside, it's entirely random which one it is, but you can kind of get an idea because it's never the same one twice in a row. So like, for example, now it won't be in the bottom left. So we can use that to kind of like route out and increase our chances of finding it. Alright. Get under him, let him hit me. Get under him. Make him slam down. Alright. So as we saw, it was in the bottom left, so now we know for sure it won't be there. So we can just go ahead and equip the digging mitts. Go forward. There we go. So that was a pretty good fight overall. And so thankfully the heart container will spawn right in front of us, so we can just roll right through. Alright, so now we have the Ocarina of Wind. That's going to be an item that will let us break the game pretty well. We use it for 2 main things. One is it'll let us teleport back to the town nice and quickly. And the second is that we'll be able to use it for a glitch that will let us skip an awful lot of dungeons and like areas that we normally don't want to go through. So this Minish right here is similar to that sign that I mentioned earlier, that we did earlier. We have to talk to that Minish in order to actually continue with the side quest that we're doing. So now we head to the library. This library actually would be closed if we did not talk to that Minish that we just did. There would be someone standing in front of that door. Similar thing with this one. Boop, 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 boop. So we save and quit here so that we go back to the place we teleported to. That way we don't have to go all the way back, re-unminish, and then climb all the way back down. We just, whoops, don't bash into that bush, that's slow. Pour the water onto the fireplace. And let's go. Walk into the Eslo text, don't roll into it. Walk into this one, don't roll into it. So basically what we're doing right now is we're doing a side quest similar to the Pegasus Boots quest, where we're doing this to get a few items that we need in order to actually beat the game. The 2 main ones being power bracelets and the flippers. So we grab this book. So we need to get 3 books all together. Oh, excuse me. Alright, so now coming up is the first time that we're going to use the ocarina to glitch ourselves to skip a bunch of areas that we would need to do normally. Alright, so the way that we're going to do it is we come over here, we have to kill this pesto, which I'll explain why in a second, and then we use the ocarina. We do that rolling thing I mentioned earlier, activate the ocarina glitch by playing it as we're going down a staircase, and use the ocarina to interrupt that, and then we can use it, the Pegasus boots, to get enough speed that we go over a bottomless pit and come into this room, which is actually across the town. You can see the sprites all messed up because of the glitch that we just did. And so here you can see this green book, which is what we're after because we're doing the side quest to get these 3 books. This book would not actually be here if we didn't kill that specific enemy that we did. And so using that, we're able to just get here without any worry, instead of how we would normally have to do it. I know that's a very basic explanation, but there's just a lot going on. So we talk to that dog to make sure that he starts moving. And now we grab some water, because we'll need to use it one more time, and then we're done with getting water, which will be nice. See, the dog now moves out of the way. And now here's where we needed that kinstone that we grabbed earlier. We have to fuse with this guy because he will actually spawn a portal that leads us to the tribe that's in the clouds. And we're going to use that to skip a major chunk of the game, which we'll get to when we get there. Alright, so for now, let's continue the side quest here. So now, again, similar to the Minish and the sign, we talk to her to give her the book, and then we talk to her again to activate a flag that lets us go inside that guy's house that we were glitched into. The dog will move out of our way. So you actually wouldn't be able to go in here if we didn't do that. Alright, grab the book, and head on our way. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and head and try to get the power bracelets. The power bracelets are used twice. The first one will be to get one of the books for this book quest, and the second time will be inside of a dungeon. That Minish that we talked to after we fell down with the green book, we had to talk to that Minish so that that doorway we just went through was actually opened, otherwise that Minish would be blocking the way. These cats are like the most damaging enemies in the game. They do like 3/4 of a heart. They're not the most damaging in the game, but they're one of. Like, they do an insane amount of damage. Alright. Oh, that was almost really nice. But I didn't take advantage of it, unfortunately. There's not a lot you can do with that fight, you just kind of have to take it by ear. We need this and this. Okay. Alright, so now we had to go get the 3rd and final book, and we're going to use a passage that we had opened up earlier in the run. You can see we used that block that we had rolled in earlier. Alright. And you can see that those bullets had left because the Minish portal resets the room that you're in. And now we do the lily pad movements that we talked about earlier to make it go as fast as we possibly can. Don't have to worry about any ESLO text. And that bookcase, or I guess shelf, that we just pushed right there is why we need the power bracelets. We can't actually push that bookcase without it. So now we got the third and final book that we need. So we save and quit so that we can just come right back out here. We don't have to unminish and we don't have to go all the way back. Also, if we do go back the way we came, there's going to be those pestos, which are those little flying bugs, that will be in our way, and we don't want to mess with those. So saving and quitting just saves us not only a little bit of time, but a lot of headache. So now we got both books, both remaining books, so we just turn them in. So it seemed like a lot of effort just to return some library books, but I'll show you exactly what these do in a second. Alright, so we've turned them in, and now you can see here that the blue book is back to where it belongs, so we can climb it up now. And the red and green ones. Alright, now we're in the cave to get the flippers. We need the flippers for 2 main spots. Oh, I hope that slug doesn't turn. Okay, cool. So here I'm going to get a bit of a safety thing. There's a fairy here. We're going to grab it so that way we don't have to worry about... we can have it for the next couple areas. Alright, cool. That was a god tier fight, really nice. That was only like a second away, a little bit away from the best you can get. So now we equip the Pegasus boots and the ocarina, and we go on our way to the next temple. Whoops. Don't bonk. Bonking is bad. Do your best to watch out not to get sniped by these Octoroks or P-hats. I went ahead and got hit by a P-hat anyway, just for funsies, I guess. And now we're inside Temple of Droplets. This dungeon's going to have a lot of skips in it using the ocarina, so we'll talk about them as we get to them. And we're also going to be abusing the Pegasus boots so that we don't have to worry about ice physics. So the Pegasus boots are going to come in very handy here. Alright, we push this. And this will be one of 2 small keys that we get in this dungeon because we're able to skip most of it using the ocarina glitch. Alright, here we go. Uh-oh. Come on now. See, it's easy to get stuck on the corner here. It's related to that thing I mentioned at the start of the run, where you use the, where you can, like, roll against the edges or corners and it'll push you off. Well, that's what it does there. So here we do the first ocarina glitch of the dungeon, and we're going to use it to skip having to get the boss key, which is really nice. So here we go up here, it saves our height, and we just continue on. And so here we're going to use the Pegasus boots, lack of recoil, to go right through, and go on our way, and hope that this guy doesn't get in our way. He didn't. Hope that the pestos stay out of our way. They did. And that's where we need the small key for. It's very important that we get that small key so we can just go on through here. Equip the sword and gust jar. And I believe this is the last lily pad that we have to do in the run. Again, count the puffs that you do. And now we hope that these pestos don't get in the way. They probably will. Oh, they actually didn't. That was actually kind of nice. I didn't have to kill that one, but I did. 1, 2. Get against here. Activate the thing, and it'll push you off, similar to what we mentioned earlier again. Alright. Now this is going to be the last small key we grab in this dungeon as well. You want to try to bounce off a bit of the top there, so that way the lily... Whoops. Ah! Get the key, thank you. I didn't get a big enough bounce, but it would, so that way it would avoid you having to do that extra bit. Unlucky pesto there. So here's kind of a silly trick that that works out. We're going to activate the switch to make the gate go, and then push this lily pad into motion a little bit. And if the lily pad is in motion while you leave the screen, the lily pad will go all the way back to the top of the screen here, saving us having to do the entire room and any of the maze or push puzzles, which is nice. Okay. And now we do the final scissor beetle fight of the run. So let's hope we can get a decent one. Okay, pretty nice. That wasn't too bad. I took quite a bit of damage, but it was mostly so that I would get the hits in. Alright, so now, again, we charge our sword ahead of time so that we waste as little time. It is a little faster to put the real link on the top, so you can kind of clip the clone link a little bit so that you save a few frames going up. But it also is a lot riskier because you could lose your clone. So I like to have Link on the real one on the bottom, so we don't have to worry about that. So here are a few guaranteed hearts. We're going to grab them because we're going to be damage boosting in this next area, so we want to make sure that we are pretty good on health. Alright. So here's where the Pegasus boots will really shine. We're going to not only use them to avoid having to deal with ice physics, but we're going to damage boost through all of this, so that way we don't have to slow down or wait. Alright. And so now we're at the mini-boss of the dungeon. And it is a repeat boss. As you can see here. Thank you for the good luck, Gelator. Alright, so this time is going to be a little different than how we did it in the first dungeon. Oh, come on now. See, we can't actually absorb any of his bottom half until after he gets rid of his electricity. Alright. He still takes the typical 4 damage, and then you just hope that he doesn't make you have to hit him as much. There we go. So now we just wait. Oops. It's a little off there. Alright, and so now what we're going to do here is hope that he jumps 5 times. And he is, okay. There is a small chance that he doesn't, and if he doesn't, you have to wait an extra cycle. But luckily, he did as he was supposed to, so we just charge up the gust jar, and we got it. And it saves a little time on this last one to charge your spin attack. And so we move in the middle just like before, so that we're right in front of the chest, and we get it. Alright, and then we equip the Pegasus boots, Ocarina, save, and quit. So, we don't actually have to go all that way to get the lantern to complete the dungeon, but we do need it in order to actually beat the boss of the dungeon. So, that's why we go ahead and grab it. We'll also need it for one room at the end of the game. So here, We do the ocarina glitch. Alright. So here's kind of a weird thing. You see that we're actually going completely around that waterfall area. That's because if you do go straight up in the waterfall, you actually go into a completely different area. So we actually do have to do that whole going around so that we get to where we want to go. Just roll through these guys. Be careful because they do deal a half heart of damage. Equip the sword. Start charging. Alright, so now we're at one of the more frustrating, but I guess also interesting bosses of the run. Alright, we are going to grab a heart or two here, just to be safe, because there is a chance that we'll take some damage here. So, the way that this boss, Big Octo, works is that he has 3 phases. The first one, he's guaranteed to shoot these 3 rocks back at you. Alright. So, simple enough. Now, the second phase that's coming up, he has a preset pattern, just like his first one, where he's going to inhale first, and then he's going to shoot a rock, and then he's going to inhale again, and then shoot 2 rocks. So see, he inhales, he's going to shoot a rock, then he's going to inhale again. Whoop! I got a little too close there. And now he's going to shoot the 2 rocks. Am I going to make this? No, I'm not going to make it. Oh, I am going to make it. Cool. Okay, so now we're on the 3rd phase. Now, this 3rd phase is entirely random. There's no preset pattern like the other 2. So there's a chance that he'll just shoot immediately, and you can beat him quickly, which is what we hope for. And then there's the chance that it won't be that way, like so, where he'll inhale first, then shoot once. Whoops, and I guess I missed, so there's a chance that this could be 2 cycles now. So as you can see, if you don't get the rocks immediately, then he'll inhale you, and you have to wait through this whole little cycle here. So now we're going to hope that he's nice and gives us the 3-shot. Okay, he is. Alright, so me missing that wasn't going to be a fatal mistake. Oh, I guess it is going to be a fatal mistake. Never mind. I actually didn't know that that could happen. That he only shoots 2. That's unfortunate. Ouch. So now we just want him to shoot again. At least we're going to hope that he does. Okay, he's just going to make it as much difficulty as possible. Alright, so we got 2 ink. That's the worst that you can get, but oh well. I actually had no idea that he would only shoot 2, even if he did the missile. So I wonder if there's a chance that even if he does shoot the rocks first, that it'll make you still have to get a 1 cycle, or a 1 ink. Oh well. So that's the worst that you can, that's the worst RNG that you can get, is getting 2 ink there. But average is 1 ink, and then getting really nice luck is getting 0 ink there. That's the only real RNG boss other than the second form of the final boss, which we'll get there when we get there. Alright. So, now that we got the water element, we're going to head over to the Four Sword Shrine, and we're going to fuse the sword with the new water element that we got. Thanks to the that cutscene that we saw where Vadi approached the king, we now are locked out of the castle, and so we're going to go through this hedge maze here. There we go. Poop. So it's actually very important that we do not forget to go and fuse this sword, because we actually can't continue, or we can continue. We can go to the next dungeon without fusing the sword, but we won't actually be able to complete the first room of the dungeon if we don't. So it's very important that we do this. Alright. So now we've charged the sword. Make sure that way it's finished by the time we get down here. Dismiss the clones and keep going. Alright. Boop. Alright, so now we're going to be able to go do skip the biggest chunk of the game that I mentioned earlier, where we use that portal. Whoops! Be careful not to run into NPCs while you're using the Pegasus boots, otherwise you just stop in your tracks. You won't necessarily bonk, but it'll just stop you. So here's that portal that we fused Kinstones with that stranger to bring. And so the next dungeon is actually on the roof of this building, so we're going to go up the stairs and see that there's an NPC blocking the way, where we use the ocarina glitch to go right through the NPCs. That way we can just go straight up to the top. And so by doing this, we skip having to do an entire section of the overworld, we skip a mini dungeon, we skip a big area that you have to go through, kind of like a maze-ish area to collect all these Kinstones. So it's a really nice little skip that we can do, and it saves a lot of time. So now we're in the Palace of Winds, the longest of the dungeons. So this first room actually might be the worst of it, to be honest. There's so much stuff that can go wrong. And there's a lot of enemies that ruin. See, the Skullchilla is getting. Skullchillas. The Stalfos is getting your way. The P-Hats can give you a horrible time. But looks like we were able to get through it just fine, which is very nice. It's always nice to not fall off. It's actually extremely common to fall down in that first room, just because of the P-Hats pushing you off or getting in your way. And so here we're going to charge our sword, so that we can just poke this bomb and not have to worry about him. Alright. Oh, that's a shame. Alright. Ah, I was a little too high, so I got the Eslo text. That's unfortunate. Oh, but I still got this cycle, that's cool. So coming up here is a forced... excuse me, there we go. Is a forced Wizrobe fight. It's actually a pretty precise strategy you can do. That's really nice. I'm gonna see if I can do it. I did not. That's unfortunate. So I got 2 extra cycles there. That's not the worst, but it's definitely disappointing. It's a really precise strategy. You have a very tight window to do it. It looks really cool when you pull it off, but it is very difficult. It's probably the most difficult strategy in the game, or in the run. But But alright. So, continuing on, you don't actually have to climb up all of these clouds. You can just go ahead and do it from the third one. Which is nice. There we go. So in this part we're actually going to try to get as far forward as we can, and then we're going to try to just go ahead and skip having to wait for the whole platform to go down and avoid these crows from hurting you. So this is the, I think it's the only auto-scroller part of the run. You just have to wait for this platform the whole time. No! I fell off! Really? I can't believe that. You saw that? Link just decided not to go through. So unfortunately, if you do make the mistake, you do have to wait the entire time for it to come back, which is just the absolute worst. So you want to try to be careful. Otherwise you do stuff like that, so we'll just wait a little longer that time. Oh well. So you want to get up here so you can beat this. I didn't quite do it, so we're going to damage boost through it instead. Charge your sword. And so now this is that part that I mentioned earlier where you needed the power bracelets for one other area. This is the area. You can't actually push these pots here unless you have the power bracelets. So on top of pushing that bookcase, this is the area that we need to use the bracelets. So bada boom. And so if we're quick enough, we can actually make this cycle up here. Oh, I guess that was a thing. Alright, use that. Switch to these. I guess that guy's going to get in the way, and we're going to go for a newer strat that was found recently. At least I don't know if it was found recently, but it started getting more use recently. Using the boots to make a cycle coming up. Please open the door, Link. There we go. And so here's a cool little skip. You don't actually have to climb the clouds at all. You just go right ahead. Mobley got in the way. Alright, so here's where we're going to try to do this cool little cycle thing. Go. Use the boots, damage boost through, fly down, and just fly across, and you can get it on that first cycle, which is really neat. Usually that we used to just roll through that, but if you roll through those spikes... Okay, Link. If you roll through those spikes, you actually get a little bit of knockback, so it's a little tighter timing than normal. So using the boots, you actually get quite a bit more time to make the first cycle. Okay. I'll just fall right back down real quick so I can show you guys again the cool cloud skips. There you go. Alright, so here's a unique new trick found recently. 5, 6. It's actually a 1-frame window and you only get one shot. But I'm going to try to do it, so let's see. Ah, I almost had it. Alright, so it's a 1-frame trick where if you use the ocarina, when that key actually spawns, you can activate the ocarina glitch, which and be able to skip this part that I'm doing now. It's a really tight window, obviously being a 1-frame trick, and you only get one shot at it because, you know, once the key activates and falls down, that's, you know, that's it, it's done. So I actually did pause on the frame that it would activate, but I didn't get it. Alright, so here we're going to do a forced encounter. I'm going to use bombs here to try to get it. Cool. one of the moblins. Not too bad of a fight. A little slow on that last kill, but overall fine. Okay, the Stalfoses were in a pretty nice location. There's a small little glitch where if you push the block where a Stalfos is standing, he'll just go right through it. It's kind of lame, but what can you do? Alright, these are a few guaranteed hearts. We'll just grab those and continue. And now is one of the hardest mini-bosses in the game. There we go. It's a really fun strategy. It's probably my favorite in the game. Alright, grab this key. Ooh, there was a good chance I could have gotten grabbed by that Gibdo there. I think it's a Gibdo. Alright. Uh-oh, that sucks. P-hats are the absolute worst. Alright, so luckily I had an extra bomb that I could use there. That does mean that I have to pick up a bomb drop later on. But you can see that P-hats there are the worst. That's why a lot of people will tend to like play it safe and do what I did the second time and just go straight to the bottom and just place the bomb. But it is slower than just carrying the bomb there. Alright, so this room is pretty dangerous. These guys will actually take you all the way back to the entrance if you get caught. So you want to make absolutely sure you do not get caught by them. Which, thankfully, mine went pretty. That time it went pretty well. It's a lot of nasty patterns they can give you, but luckily we got a pretty good one. Alright, here's a pretty cool trick. Just go right through, and he'll blow up before you actually land, so you can land over there. And so here's where I'll actually have to grab bombs, because I ran out of them. Alright, go ahead and equip them. Try to get a roll lift. I did. Don't worry about a roll lift here, because you throw it ahead of time. Try to get a roll lift here. I didn't. Go fly backwards. Roll, roll. This is the last small key we're going to get in the dungeon. Switch back to sword. Kill that one just so that you don't take the damage. Alright. So now this is the last room in the dungeon. We're going to try not to take a lot of damage here, and we can skip grabbing a fairy that's going to be right there. Because we can just grab a few hearts before the boss itself. That's not good. I might grab some extra hearts, to be honest. You can skip doing all of these clouds, but it's a lot more tight timing than the other ones, so... Alright, so we're gonna grab these hearts. I can't actually remember if these are hearts. They're not. But I will grab this extra one. Alright. So this boss, he can go either extremely well or extremely badly. So I'm just planning in case it goes badly. So the way this guy works is that you do this clone pattern. Make sure that you can hit all of the patterns that he could give. Take him out. Jump over to this guy. Charge up. And now the blue ones take 4 hits. Spin attacks will do 2 each. So there you go. It hits twice. Start charging ahead of time. Get the pattern. Go up to them. Feel it. Now you don't want to lose your clones here. So be patient. Alright. Okay, got it. Start charging up. Get the hit twice. Start charging. So now this one right here, this third phase, is the hardest one because now you have the blue one actually flying around to try to attack you. Okay, luckily he stayed there. Shoot. Oh no. Be careful. So I had to do 1 extra clone cycle. Not too bad. Uh-oh. This would be too bad. No! I died. So you can see that what I mean by the third phase being the absolute worst, because you can see he is just being an absolute, like, jerk. Somehow got a heart. That's kind of cool. Alright, so I'm charging to north. You don't want to ever do that, because it just raises your chances of getting hit. So overall, that boss wasn't too bad. Well, I mean, I died, so I guess that's bad. But, it went better than, it could go. The only real difficult one was the third phase, where I lost 1 clone cycle and I had to jump on him twice. But otherwise, it wasn't too bad. So, all that means, though, is that I'm going to grab a fairy exiting the dungeon. It doesn't cost any... It costs, like, maybe 5 extra seconds. But it's going to be worth it for the safety. It doesn't take any extra menuing either. So, like, basically I'm just going to do the ocarina bottle, throw the fairy, grab it, use the ocarina. And so you'll still have to press start to equip your sword later anyway. So I can just do the boots and sword now, and not have to worry about doing it when I get there. Yeah, so that's why we'll grab a fairy for safety, just in case things like that happen, where, you know, it was just unfortunate that the blue Georg was acting that badly. Alright, so now we do the final fuse of the run. Ugh. Oh, my legs. Whew. So we'll go ahead and skip the sports all the way down there. Alright, and so now we head to the final cutscene of the game. And this is the only real break that you get during the run. As you saw, it was just entirely go, 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 go. Even during cutscenes, gotta mash text. But this scene, you don't have to do any of that. You can just take a little break, which is nice. You can get a swig of water, which I think I will do, actually. Not much left. I'd say there's about like 16 minutes left. Maybe 17 if I mess up a few of the tricks. But one unique thing about this one is that you don't just go to the final dungeon yourself. You're actually automatically there. So now we're off. So as per usual, we stop a little short so we can start charging our sword. Oh, moved a little too quickly there. Alright, so here we go. Now we're going to try to do a trick that we only use once in the any % route called cutscene walking. Let's see if we can get it. I got it a little too early. Basically what you do is that you'll activate making that guy get out of stone, and then you're going to walk into the Eslo text. And when you finish the Eslo text, you're actually able to walk again. And so you'll do that to where you'll start unfreezing the other soldier, and then while that happens, the guy will talk to you. Then you do that again and again, so that way you can save a little, like 7 seconds total, because you don't have to sit there and wait each time. You can just go ahead and start unfreezing the next one. I didn't want to take damage there, but it happened. That. There we go. Ah, I missed it. I got a little too, I started panicking because of the Stalfos. Here we go. Oh, come on. Oh, I got it, and then I pushed up too much. Alright, so I had pretty good ocarina glitches throughout the whole run, so I guess one of them was bound to happen. There we go. Alright, so we activated the ocarina glitch there. The reason why we're activating it there is so that we can... Actually, I'll show you in just a second. Equip the Pegasus boots. There we go. So we can walk up this wall here. And so we can skip having to use any keys or anything. Just go right through. Alright. Alright, so we're going to equip the sword and bombs here. Place a bomb. No, I just barely missed it. So as you can see, there was a trick there to where you can blow up these 4 cannons without actually having to clone yourself, but I messed it up, unfortunate. What? I guess I messed it up twice, unfortunately. Oh well, I'll just keep going. That floor master is so scary because you can see he just kind of started floating north. So here we're going to start charging a little early before we go into this room. That way it gives us a nice cycle to do this in. Where we don't have to worry about the spike, excuse me, there we go. So we don't have to worry about that spike trap getting in the way. This and this. Alright, so now we're going to exit the castle and come back in so that we set that as the save point. So now anytime we anytime we save and quit, we'll actually go there instead. So now we're going to ocarina glitch, and we're going to try to, and we're going to basically go super out of order on this dungeon. One thing about missing that, the 4 cannons thing is that you don't have to worry about running into Eslo text through the middle, which you would have to worry about if you, did nail the trick. So you can kind of do this a little more recklessly. And then here we're going to grab bombs and arrows for the final boss. Alright, grab that key, save and quit. Alright. So you can see there how we spawned there instead of like back at the fusion. Whoa, where am I going? Okay. Boop. Basically what our aim is right now is to get 4 small keys. Once we get 4 small keys, we can get the boss key and go to the final boss. So here's our 3rd one, and now we're going to do the last ocarina glitch of the run. And for this one, we're not going to be doing it just to like go out of bounds or anything, or like walk on portals or on pits. Instead, what we're doing is we're going to use it so that we can use items in doorways, like jumping, for instance. And here we're going to use our sword to line ourselves up. Whoops. I guess that didn't work. There we go. Okay, that time it worked. There we go. And now we're going to cluster them together. 1, 2, 3, 4. Move on. There we go. Simple as that. And now we're going to come up to our last single Darknet fight, and we're going to try to get a quick kill on him. There we go. If you get him fast enough, you can get him stun locked there, which is really nice. And then here's also a Dark Nut fight. This one's one of the easier ones because they actually have a long opening. Like you can see that they just sit there for hours being wide open. But of course I just decided to mess it up a lot. But you can see he stood there with his opening pretty long. So as long as you stay on top of it, it shouldn't be too difficult. And then this is that room that I mentioned back when we got the lantern. That would be the only room that we use it in. So here there's 4 ghosts. You want to make sure you deal with the correct one quickly. The correct one being the one that flinches. Alright, so now we got that 4th small key. So now we're able to go get the boss key. One, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. I kind of did that a little backwards. Alright, so now we're at the final boss. Well, the final stretch, I guess you could say. Just jump over this guy, easy peasy. Alright, so now we're at a triple Darknet fight, which is debatably the hardest fight in the game. Aw, thought I got him there for a second. Okay, dealt with one. You want to be absolutely careful not to get hit by that tornado slash because it does 6 hearts of damage to you. It does 2 3-heart attacks, so you want to be absolutely careful. The strategy for this fight basically being just jump over them and attack. There is a neat little backup you can do where you instead use bombs. It can be really nice, but it is slower than doing an optimal jump. Alright, so now we're at the final bosses. There's 3 phases to Vadi. The first one is pretty reliable. You just want to hope that he doesn't teleport a lot on you. There's also health in the bottom left of the room, which I am going to grab just to be safe. This is one of the best times to grab it between the cycles, as he's still releasing his, you know, his orbs, so... Not bad. So now you want to pull out the Gust Jar so that you can absorb the dark balls before he actually unleashes his guys. Alright. Darn. Yes, hello. So that wasn't too bad. He didn't teleport a whole lot. Alright, so now we're at Vadi 2. This is the other random boss that I mentioned earlier when we were doing that big Octorok. You definitely want to have patience when you're fighting this guy. Excuse me, sir. Now, he's similar to the Mazal fight, the one in Fortress of Winds, where he never has the same pattern twice in a row. So as long as you paid close attention, you shouldn't have that much of an issue. Ah, come on, I knew that was going to happen. Yeah, like I said, you want to make sure that you pay attention and that you don't take any unnecessary risks. This boss does reward patience. So because I did that left one, and since it's never the same one twice in a row, I was able to easily tell that it was going to be the bottom ones again. Okay. Alright, so now I know for sure that's going to be this one. Kinda interesting that I got the same 2 patterns over and over. Like a revolving door. I didn't want to risk losing my clones, so I did back up a bit. What? Oh lord. Like I said, Vadi 2, he can be quite the pain. Alright, but overall that wasn't too bad of a fight. I just had to redo my clones twice. So it wasn't too bad. Alright, so now we just go to the final form of Vadi, Vadi 3. Vadi 3 isn't as bad as Vadi 2, largely because he can be manipulated. So as long as you, you know, just stay focused and make sure you don't mess up, he's pretty reliable all the way through. Also, if you're low on health, there are fairies before going into Vadi 3, so it is a bit forgiving. Like, for example, if you go south from here, but I do have a fairy already, and I'm at pretty good health, so even if I didn't have a fairy, I probably wouldn't grab it. Alright, so now we want to lure Vadi 3 down a little bit because we don't want him camping over by the Minish portal, because that'll make it pretty difficult if, you know, you're trying to go Minish and then he's just standing. Whoa, I should probably equip the Cane Apache, shouldn't I? So that was my fault because I didn't do the equip. So now because of that you can see that he's kind of punishing me here. So make sure you remember, what is this? So that was just unusual, period, even if I didn't. So you want to try to pin this guy in a corner and just go ham. Oh jeez, he's giving me the worst luck. Alright, so that was an absolute train wreck. But, you know, that's what you get. That's what happens, man. Alright, so now you can actually just camp on top of this Minish portal and you can't actually take damage, which is kind of nice. So you just move over, activate it. Okay. I guess make sure it's as difficult as possible. So here's the other area that you'll use the lantern. Just pin him against a wall. Pretty nice. Alright, so here's where we're going to try to get the manipulation. As long as you stay close to Vadi, he'll just do the blue orbs. I was a little too far from him, so he didn't do it immediately. Oh boy. Yeah, that was gonna happen. And sometimes he goes far to the left like that, which is also unfortunate, but what can you do? But luckily, as long as, after you hit him, as long as you go back into it, he'll go back into the manipulation. So now as long as I stay close, he'll do the orbs again. What is this? Just absolutely disgusting, man. But comes with the territory, man. Sometimes that's just the hand Vati deals you. Can't do anything about it. So we just get back to it. See, this is a little nicer. And that's that. 2:03:25. It's about 4 minutes behind my PB. But with the having the 2 ink, some pretty bad enemy placement in Caster Wilds, pretty bad luck at the final fights. It overall wasn't that bad of a run. So hopefully you could see a little bit of the techniques, the strategies, the things that you think of, that runners think about for the run, and that maybe can show off as well. It's a really fun run, really interesting to watch as well, because especially in like a race setting, you can see just how much movement matters, the little things that add up, just how much that runners think about when they're doing their movement, when they're doing their strategies. And yeah, so hopefully it was enjoyable to watch.